Welcome to a special video edition of RIMS-CAST, brought to you by RIMS, the Risk and Insurance Management Society. I am Justin Smolison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS, and your proud RIMS-CAST host. We've got a special episode for you today, all about strategy and change, featuring the insights of Aon's Executive Vice President Aaron Olson and Managing Director Ward Ching. They are the authors of a new book, aptly titled Strategy and Change, and they will be co-presenting a session at RISKWORLD on May 4th in room 119AB titled Strategy and Change, Understanding Disruptive Innovation Through Insight, Choice, and Risk, and they will be joined by our friends Joe Mayo and Christy Kaufman. This episode is specially produced for RISKWORLD, which will be held at the Pennsylvania Convention Center May 3rd through the 6th. This is a last call for registration. Visit rims.org/riskworld. The full audio of this episode will be released later in May. You can subscribe now to RIMS-CAST through your favorite podcasting app. But for now, we're going to offer a preview of what will prove to be one of the marquee educational sessions at RISKWORLD, as they intend to deepen your understanding of the latest disruptive innovation literature and its impact on risk decision makers. Let's get to it. Aaron Olson and Ward Ching, welcome to RIMS-CAST.
Great to see you both. So I'm really excited to see you at RISKWORLD, and there's so much to discuss. We're going to have a kind of a speed round today a bit, and let's kick things right off. Organizations, businesses, and society in general are experiencing a dizzying disruptive transformation where conventional risk management frameworks, tools, and solutions have become increasingly ineffective. Why do you believe that's so, and what can we do about it?
Well, I'm going to have Aaron start with that one because he's been in the middle of disruptive innovation for quite some time, and I'll chime in right in behind him regarding some of the research that we've seen. Aaron.
Okay.
Thanks, Ward. And Justin, thanks again. This is really fun, and we're looking forward to this conversation. So Ward and I work together at Aon, and work with risk managers, around the world, of course. But in addition to that, we both do some academic work. In Ward's case, it's at USC, in the Marshall School. And in my case, it's Northwestern, just outside Chicago. And for 20 years, I've been working at as a member of the faculty there, part-time, teaching on the topic of the intersection of strategy and leadership. And so in the midst of that, actually had a chance to do some research. Yeah, and actually we published something about it 10 years ago now. It was a book focused on exactly that, the intersection of strategy and leadership. And we looked at a bunch of companies, we looked at a bunch of examples, and we looked at how do individuals lead strategy. And of course, we're 10 years later. So Ward and I started talking about exactly this. We talked about the kind of clients we work with, the challenges they face, the risk managers that are actually working in those organizations. What happened in the last 10 years? The world got a lot more complicated. The world got volatile. The world's facing more and more risk.
Yeah.
And so we actually decided to do some additional new work. And that's what we're going to talk about. This time, it's not just the strategy and leadership intersection. It's strategy and change, disruptive change. And so, really we've looked at in 10 years, what lessons can we learn from COVID, from supply chain, from, the rising, costs of, doing business, and the unpredictable nature of that. And what can we do about that? How can companies be successful? How can risk managers be successful? And really, what is the changing, evolving role of risk in the midst of that? And Ward, you've done a lot of original work on disruption itself. You should talk about
Right. One of the things that was really interesting, Justin, was forever, disruption has always been part of the economic environment. It is now a hyper important part of economic decision-making, and in every sense, every industry vertical. And my research in the disruptive innovation space really started with an article that I did with Paul Walker several years ago for RIMS on the issue of enterprise risk management tools and capabilities.
Was that an article or was that a paper, Ward?
That was a paper for you guys. And what happened was Paul and I were doing all of the basic research to take a look at all of the tools that were there. And then February 2020 rolled around and the world went completely dark.
Sure.
And the question, we just looked at each other and said, how did that happen? how did all of our most robust, capable tools, quantitative tools, qualitative tools, survey tools, everything, and everybody predicted that there was some kind of exposure to pandemic, but nobody predicted, or at least had any thought of how it would go from ranked 25 to 50 to maybe even greater on your risk registers to number one overnight.
Right.
And so we looked at each other and said, what's underneath this? Why did all of our tools fail? And what we found was that there was this very interesting literature base around disruptive innovation, which originally came out of Harvard. But more importantly, a lot of, if not all, of our core disruptive events going back through history started with a technological innovation. We worked that further and found that it is now if you look at all the disruption that's in the marketplace now, it's coming from a technological innovation starting with our new silicon chips and our speed towards AI, speed towards agentic AI, all of the things we can do now with data that we couldn't do 5 years ago. We couldn't see certain things 5 years ago. We can do all of that now. That's creating a very, very interesting disruptive kind of environment. And now disruption, it needs to be considered as part of the decision calculus for most organizations. Similarly, disruption is a new risk issue that has not been well understood or measured or evaluated in the past. That's what we were really trying to look at. So in the book and in the discussion that we are going to have further, we're going to be looking at it from several different perspectives. And how is disruption creating advantage? How is disruption creating new opportunities? How is it changing the way we think about risk measurement, and risk mitigation?
Now, where does the concept of polycrisis come into all this, or is it just interwoven in with it?
Yeah, Aaron, that's yours.
Well, one of the things we really uncovered as we started to get into this is if you go back 10 years ago, any given year, any given day, your average executive was maybe dealing with one crisis, one issue coming at them. I think you'd be hard pressed to find an executive, that would actually say so today. You come into the office or you dial in, you come on to Zoom, every day, you're probably dealing with 2, if not 3 simultaneous, challenges, and that actually has a compounding effect. So Ward already mentioned technology is an accelerant. It's also an amplifier, and the combination of speed and severity actually means that, organizations deal with an external environment that has multiple concurrent, risks going on. And then you have internal execution risks, and they too are more complicated too. Like, let's just take AI.
Sure.
That's externality, but also inside. You have all kinds of new risks that are being surfaced as AI is actually changing workflows, processes, even the nature of people's jobs and work. That is just a level of complexity that, we have not had to deal with in most of our professional lifetimes.
Right.
Right.
And most of the tools that we use to mitigate those risks are now obsolete.
Could you name a couple of those without ruffling any feathers? Is there like, for example, a heat map? Nobody can claim that they created the heat map, and if they do, then they're not going to like this episode. But if it was a heat map, is there something like that there where you could delve into?
When you look at something like a heat map, it is point specific.
Mhm.
You look at various risks along a series of axes. Sometimes you have axes in the middle of the heat map itself. Some people argue that's materiality thresholds. Some argue that it's just decorative. But the point is, these point specific numbers or these locations don't actually answer the question, so what do you do? I understand where the risk might be on a frequency and severity scale or a likelihood scale. But if I were the CFO looking at the low, high, I would be asking the question, what investment do I have to make to move something that is extraordinarily high and perhaps not even insurable space into someplace more acceptable? So those types of comparative static tools actually don't give you enough information to make significant decisions, especially now, as Aaron's pointing out, that a problem may have adjacencies around it that impact a decision, but it needs to be broader in terms of its context, broader in terms of its execution. And a lot of those tools that we have don't work anymore.
Right. So we are back. And Aaron, earlier you mentioned that you built the strategy agent at Aon. And I think that's fascinating for a lot of reasons. One of the things that I think is on the minds of our audience is not just about the agent, but what it took to build it, what sort of resources you had, what sort of team you had. I was wondering just what does it take to get to the point of completion?
Yeah. So, Justin, I'm happy to share how this came about, and I think this is actually where we're all headed.
Yeah.
So, when you talked about team, you're looking at the team.
Oh, it was a one-man
team.
team?
Oh yeah, and if another term I'm going to introduce, is vibe coding, right? So if you haven't already, you're going to hear about. It used to be you didn't have developers and they would code tools that we all use. What I'm going to describe was just actually taking an idea and actually a routine that Ward and I've been doing for years, and actually realizing that an agent could actually start to do some of that work for me. So let me describe how that worked.
Sure.
So just to set the context here, as you already mentioned, Ward and I have been working together for a couple of years on the academic side. We did write this book, and we had to sort of codify some of the work that we do with our clients. So there were some frameworks. And so one of those frameworks, we actually turned into a simple worksheet. I use it all the time for preparing with clients. It's an analysis tool. What is going on in terms of that client's industry? What are some of the key issues they need to deal with? And then what are some of the insights, and decisions, and risks that we want to bring for discussion? What occurred to me as I've started to look at these agents is I don't have to do all that stuff myself anymore. So to be really practical, I'm a ChatGPT user. There's other tools out there like Claude, but there's the ability within ChatGPT to actually create what's called a custom GPT.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in, I did that. There's a set of instructions that it asked me, to do. Don't think of that as coding. That is just guidance, and writing that out along with the worksheet, which I just actually loaded up into it. And then a few ways to actually construct prompts. We've all actually done prompts, right? Prompt engineering is, what is a good question to ask? Well, I preloaded some good prompts. And so now this, which we call the, strategy and change diagnostic, is an agent that Ward and I and others can use to actually go in and say, I've got this client that is this. I'm actually, wanting to solve, have this kind of conversation. Here's some of the situations that we're focusing on. Here's some of the disruptive changes. It might be supply chain. It might be AI. It might be tariffs. It might be a hard market. What are the things that I should be thinking of? And what are the things that we should be focusing on? It then comes back with a lot of the work that I would have had done to think that through myself. And it's pulling on the logic that I taught it, but it's actually pulling real-time information from the internet. It can actually go out without me even asking and pull the latest 10K, and actually draw in that information to get some of the strategy and financial criteria of that are relevant to that situation.
Amazing. Well, I would have assumed that you had a whole team of people working for months on end, but it doesn't sound like that was the case at all.
No, it would have been. And today we're in a different role.
Sure.
Yep. Right. The other thing is that he can change the persona of the agent. So if he's looking at it from one point of view, he can look at it from a different point of view or a competing point of view. And all three of those or all four of those will generate additional insights as to what the client issues might actually be. Now, Aaron, how long did it take you to do this?
I did this over a weekend, and then I refined it by trying it out with some real situations.
Yep.
Humble brag right there.
I think this is the future for all of us.
Yeah.
Over a weekend in Norway when I had a layover. Yeah. So we are back again with Aaron Olson and Ward Ching. And just a reminder, folks, they will be presenting at RISKWORLD at 11 a.m. in room 119 AB on May 4th. May the 4th.
Time for a quick break.
All right, I am joined by my friend Stuart Ruff Lyon. He is the Chief Commercial Officer here at RIMS, and he is Mr. RISKWORLD. How are you there, Stuart?
Doing well. Thank you, Justin. Excited for RISKWORLD.
We all are. It's an exciting time to be here at RIMS. We celebrated our 75th anniversary last year, and this year we're going to be hosting RISKWORLD in Philadelphia during America's 250th birthday celebration in the city of brotherly love. What could be better?
Exactly, right? Lots of activity going on in Philadelphia in 26 with the FIFA games, the 250th anniversary of the United States. So much activity happening in Philly. It's going to be an exciting destination for us.
Excellent. Now, we haven't been there since 2017. Is that right?
That's right.
Yes. So what's going to be different at this year's Risk World just from last year?
Just from last year. We have a lot of new initiatives this year. We have some new education tracks that are taking place, Risk and Conversation, for example. We have new conversation pods that are exciting for the marketplace forward. Attendees and exhibitors have private one-to-one meetings that's sponsored by Cedric, so really grateful for that. We have a great opening party planned this year. It's a hybrid event, half outdoor, half indoor. Fingers crossed for good weather. From street to chic. And then, yeah, just lots of new, and I don't want to give too much away, lots of different kind of enhancements and experiences throughout the show. And different things I think people will enjoy in the convention center and just being part of Risk World.
Excellent. Now, we have a wonderful lineup of speakers and keynotes at Risk World. Do you want to take us through each one real quick?
Yeah, I'll take it as fast as I can. Yeah, so we're opening with Adam Grant, who is an organizational psychologist, a brilliant professor from the University of Pennsylvania, author of several books, massive following on LinkedIn.
Yes.
He's going to challenge the way we think and challenge our assumptions. I think it's really good for the risk professional audience to hear that conversation and be a part of it. It's really something that everybody can get something out of, I think. And then, of course, on Tuesday, we have more of our industry day with Chubb and Liberty Mutual leading the way on different conversations about the state of the industry for risk.
And so on May 6th, to close us out, we have one of America's sweethearts on main stage, Michael Strahan. Tell us, what can we look forward to there?
I think it's going to be an exciting conversation we have with Michael Strahan on stage. Unbeknownst to many people, he owns many businesses. He knows a thing or two about business risk and risk management with his own portfolio that he has. Obviously, like you said, America's sweetheart to some degree, right? Good Morning America and his other projects. So we're excited to hear him. I'm excited to see him. I think it's going to bring a nice close to Risk World Philadelphia.
So as we know, we always encourage our members and the public to register in advance at rims.org/riskworld, but we have on-site registration capabilities, right, Stuart?
That's right. You can sign up on site. Registration opens on Sunday, May 3rd at 10 a.m. at the Convention Center. And just a reminder that everyone who accesses any space at the Convention Center must be registered and badged with the official Risk World badge to access any point. It's for safety and security reasons.
Very good. So I look forward to seeing you there. You're going to be running around doing all kinds
Running
of
around, the man behind the curtain, right?
That's exactly right. And Stuart, it's time for a little humble brag with my friend Stuart Rufflion. You have a speaking engagement coming up. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I'm really pleased to mention this. Risk World 2025 is being honored by Trade Show Executive. It's one of the fastest 50 growing shows in America. So very exciting kind of recognition for us. And the morning of that program, I'll be speaking on a panel with some really big industry bigwigs from more corporate side of things. I'm the Loan Association wolf there about the risks that you take on events and event experience design and what's gone right and what's gone wrong. Because right, as we know, we do, I think Risk World is really good about taking some innovative event experiences. And sometimes they go well and sometimes they don't, right? So just really transparent conversation about what we've tried and what we're going to try in the future.
So that's the TSE Fastest 50 Summit in Baltimore on April 23rd, correct?
That's right.
All right, great. And we've got in 2025, RIMS launched the Foundation. It's the Foundation for Risk Management. Now, this is different than our friends at Spencer Educational Foundation, who we love. And anybody who's interested can go to rims.org/FRM. But I would love it if you would tell us a little bit about the foundation and the presence it's going to have at Risk World 2026.
Sure. Really excited about the foundation this year. So we're launching a lot of new initiatives. Basically, one of the things we're really highlighting are rising risk professionals, scholarships for them to attend more events and professional development opportunities, even like the RIMS-CRMP. Also looking into research projects, chief risk officer kind of summit kind of things potentially in the future, and new tools for risk managers to propel us into the future of risk management. So it's really exciting kind of stuff, I think, whereas Spencer's focused on students, we're focused more on the early all the adults and risk.
The folks who are going to carry the torch into the next generation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so the presence at Risk World, we're going to have some events, right?
A couple that are really exciting, actually. We're going to have a silent auction. It actually opens on April 24th before Risk World, but it will close on May 6th at 5 p.m. that day. So you really want to make sure you're bidding through Risk World. I'll tell you, there are some great prizes. I can't really confirm whether or not this is true, but I've heard there's a really wicked Ariana Grande package to be involved here. So lots of good things. In addition to that, on Tuesday, May 5th of the show, we'll have our after party. It starts at 9 p.m. at one of Philadelphia's hottest nightclubs, Noto. and a packed dance floor, great food, open bar. It's really, I think it's the best party we do at RISKWORLD. Frankly, I love it. It's smaller, more intimate. People really network a lot there. And the fee for that is $149, and you can buy that during registration or go back to the attendee service center after you register to purchase the ticket.
Excellent. So that'll be Tuesday, May 5th at Nodo.
No.
Nodo. All right.
NOTO.
N-O-T. Oh, N-O-T-O.
Yeah.
No-to. And I
Yeah.
thought Nodo meant no doubt. All right. And Stuart, looking ahead to October 18th through the 21st, we've got the 50th RIMS Canada Conference. How stoked are you?
I'm very excited for it. Quebec City is a fantastic, perfect destination for this conference. If you haven't been before, you will love it. You will enjoy it. Beautiful city, great people, great food scene. And we're having a very special opening party to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the RIMS Canada Conference. So definitely want to miss that. It's going to be something to experience.
I just hope that my invitation doesn't get lost in the mail this year. And it's going to be great. I love being at the RIMS Canada Conference. I feel like it grows a little bit more every single year. Is that accurate?
It is accurate. It's been growing consistently over the past few years. We're expecting more than 1,500 total attendance in Quebec City. And looking forward to future growth of that event as well. It's one of my favorite events too. It really brings together a smaller community of our Canadian professionals who can really focus on Canadian-related issues, advocacy issues, Canadian-specific risk management things. So it's a great event.
Excellent. And registration has not opened yet, but my understanding is that the call for submissions for educational sessions is now open through May 8th. Is that right?
That's right. It's currently open right now, trying to accept those submissions. We want top-notch education, of course, for the RIMS Canada Conference, innovative and audience interactive kind of things that are really engaging with audience and not just, talking heads is really what we're looking for.
Where that link is up there right now. It's rimscanadaconference.ca. Oh my goodness, there it is. And Stuart, it's always great to see you. We're going to have you back on when we know a little bit more about RIMS Canada Conference 2026. All right? It's titled Strategy and Change, Understanding Disruptive Innovation Through Insight, Choice, and Risk. And you will be joined by two absolutely wonderful co-presenters, people I know for a few years now. Christy Kaufman from USAA, she's a RIMS board member, and Joseph Mayo, RIMS-CRMP commissioner. First of all, talk about the camaraderie amongst the four of you, just so we get the feel for that.
Yeah, I was the one that organized the panel, and one of the things I wanted was to get very different perspectives on the issue of disruptive innovation. So Aaron and I have done specific things. Aaron has a very strong human capital background as well as his academic background. He brings all of that to the table. Christy Kaufman is one of the premier enterprise risk managers on the planet.
Yep.
And from the work that she's been doing at USAA, she has a very clear view as to how disruption in the general marketplace is impacting the way she does work within the organization and how she's managing decision making. Joe Mayo comes from the independent consulting space and spends nearly 100% of his time working with the federal government. And he was one of the ones that helped develop the RIMS-CRMP Fed designation. He took over from me when I rolled off as chair. He rolled on as chair of the RIMS-CRMP Commission. And what I wanted him to bring to the table was a perspective coming from the governmental side. If there is an area where disruptive innovation or not is taking place, it's certainly in the federal government. So I wanted to bring that mix to the table, which is very rare in a RIMS world kind of environment. Should be a wonderful conversation. We're doing it essentially as a roundtable discussion with me being kind of the moderator, asking questions back and forth, and we're inviting the audience into that discussion. But it should be a very powerful view because not very many people are looking at the next generation of risk professionals and risk management skills from using the lens of disruptive innovation as a primary focus.
Right. Now, it's worth mentioning also, I just want to correct myself from earlier. Christy Kaufman is our president-elect and a board director. And so she's wonderful. She's not going to take it personally that I only said board director earlier. All right. So I think that's going to be a great session. And the sort of thing where you're going to be taking questions from the audience too. You've got 60 minutes, which sounds like a lot, but you've got a lot to cram in there, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a very quick paced kind of discussion. We will be taking questions from the audience. The expectation is the audience is going to be in an advanced state. They're going to be looking at disruption and disruptive innovation in a clinical sort of way. But more importantly, I think they want to hear about the case studies that we've done, or the case studies that Christy's done, or that Joe has done. What are the new tools and responsibilities that are coming out? More importantly, what are the skills that are necessary? Because many people in risk management, not just human capital side, but risk capital beyond, are saying, what are the skills and capabilities that I need to be successful going forward?
Right.
That's in question right now. And so
that's one of the, I'm sorry.
That's a big issue. And what is the impact of AI? What is the impact on data analysis, on the types of things that I need to do? Should I be a coder? Should I be an actuary? Should I be an engineer? What should it look like? And the answer is yes. You need to be all of those going forward.
Because one of the, if we want to call it editorial strategy shifts here at RIMS, kind of mirrors that. It's not just about identifying the risk. It's how can I leverage it to do my job better? Or what do I need to know now to enable me to succeed later? It can't just be about the what. It's got to be about the why and the how. And that sounds like that's the sort of thing you're going to be tackling on Monday the 4th.
Yeah, Justin, I would say, while we're talking about some very big topics here, and it's going to be sort of mind expanding, we mentioned sort of academic work we do, but I think actually Ward and I pride ourselves on being operators, actually. So to me, this is a roll up your sleeves discussion. These are things that our organizations are facing now. So I think of this as a session that we need to get into that. We need to have some, good conversations with the folks that are showing up, and we all are going to leave with some practical things that we can do differently.
Excellent. Now, this all harkens back to your new book, which you co-authored. It's called Strategy and Change. It is on our screens right now. We've talked about it a little bit, and feel free, please tell us a little bit about the origins of the book and some of the key takeaways.
So this is actually, the second book I've written. The first book, had a chance to do with Ward, though. And I would say we really enjoyed the opportunity to bring together some things that we had been doing, in our respective, kind of professional backgrounds. And at the end, what is it? It's actually an investigation. Why and what is driving, us to live in a world that's more complicated, that's faster moving, where risk is different, and we need to work differently because of that. And, we actually then go into practical things, 3 different lenses on, the issues that we all face in a world of disruptive change. We call that insight, choice, and risk. And each of those, we get to the practical aspects of, what does that mean for us? How do you succeed, in a world, that's more complicated, that's moving faster, that has a lot more volatility, and where that's not going to go away. We do use a lot of case examples. So, there are some real organizations that we look at. What happened to GE over the last decade? How did they actually, navigate, changes in their industry? How did S&P 500, or sorry, S&P Global actually sort of evolve from a very different business a decade ago? They were McGraw-Hill, the publisher. These are real companies that have faced real challenges, and they've taken proactive approaches, that have evolved the way they do business. And then we bring that down to individuals and how you lead through, that kind of change. So, there's a lot of practical things. We've mentioned a few tools that we use, coming out of it. That Ward, what would you add?
Well, I would say that it also points to some additional literature to think about. Clayton Christensen, for example, at Harvard, did a lot of very interesting work associated with the innovator's dilemma, in which he was asking the question, how do organizations that have been innovative throughout their lifespans, how is it that these organizations, when they even continue to be innovative, fail? And it has a lot to do with the disruptive elements in the marketplace. And so it raises the question how you, in risk management, can help the organization think slightly disruptively to help the organization push through some of the biases or barriers that might cause it to have difficulties going forward. The whole issue of understanding disruptive innovation is part of the new toolkit that the next generation of risk professional, irrespective of where they are going to have sharpened up and have a strong acumen around in order for them to really help their organization succeed going forward. So that's where some of the more subtle elements of the book are really in place. We also really talk about this notion of an ecosystem. We're in a risk ecosystem now, as opposed to just separate, distinct property, casualty, well-being, all that sort of stuff. They're not in separate locations. They're in an ecosystem, and the data is showing us how they interact with each other. So new skills, new capabilities, new perspectives are highlighted in the book.
Excellent. And it's also worth mentioning that just prior to your session at 10:10, you can catch Ward on the global stage along with his Aon colleague Daniel Serrata, Vice President of Government Affairs and Public Affairs, for the session Time to Pay Attention, Artificial Intelligence Regulatory Update. That's going to be, once again, on the global stage right next to RIMS HQ. So your session is kind of the perfect follow-up to that, right?
We're trying.
Yeah.
Absolutely trying. Dan Serrata is wonderful. He writes extensively on what's happening in the governmental arena. It almost feels like when you read his stuff, like he's in the room.
Right.
And in some cases, he is. So it'll be a great short sprint kind of briefing, what to pay attention to, what's on the docket coming forward. And it does lead into the kinds of things we're talking about in the disruption panel.
Excellent. Aaron, is this the first time that you're going to present at RISKWORLD?
It is. So I've been an attendee before. I've had a chance to listen to Ward and others, but I'm looking forward to actually having a chance to contribute.
Special thanks again to Ward, Ching, and Aaron Olson of Aon for joining us here today on RIMScast. Remember to visit them in room 119AB on May 4th for the session Strategy and Change. They will be co-presenting alongside Christy Kaufman and Joe Mayo. This is just one of the more than 120 stellar educational sessions to be held at RISKWORLD 2026. Stuart, Rough Lion, and I cannot stress enough how much we want to see you at RISKWORLD. This is the last call for registration, so visit us at rims.org/RISKWORLD and register today to connect, cultivate, and collaborate with 10,000 of your risk management peers. Thank you again for tuning into this special edition of RIMScast. You can subscribe to RIMScast on all podcasting apps and visit our new RIMS official channel on YouTube. That's youtube.com/RIMS official channel. We update with more video content there every single week. From all of us here at RIMS, the Risk and Insurance Management Society, thank you for your continued support.